Welcome to this episode of Ponderings and Musings of an Ordinary Man. I'm your host, Greg Jacobs. Well, today I'm going to go ahead and talk about New Year's resolutions. What does that even mean? What are some of the most common resolutions? Do you have a New Year's resolution? Is it healthy to have one? There's a lot of different topics we'll kind of look at. Today is January 2nd when I'm recording this. I'm not exactly sure when I'm going to drop this episode, but let's just say that it's the beginning of the year and everybody kind of hits the reset and restart button. I got to thinking about that a lot today, and what does that even mean? And it's almost turned into a negative stigma in society to admit that you have a New Year's resolution. If you do have one, a lot of times they're not specific. If you mention it out loud, oh, love and happiness. I want to focus on others, community outreach, whatever, type of, very broad topic and base that you could do that you're not going to have somebody poo-poo you and say, are you really going to keep that? Or, laugh at you for trying to cut out, sugar or chocolate or, whatever. So I thought the first thing I'd point out is a New Year's resolution, by definition, is not necessarily something you are going to do. It can be something you're not going to do. So it could be that you're abstaining from something like, I just mentioned chocolate or sugar. It could be abstaining from social media. It could be whatever. The other thing I would mention is that New Year's resolution does not have to be necessarily for a full year. A lot of times we think of it as a 12-month, and therefore there's a failure rate that is associated with that. I would say that don't necessarily look at it as a full year, because a lot of times people tend to fail out of the gate when they think, I don't know if I can keep doing this for the next 12 months. Or say you're a month in, I don't know if I could do this for the next 11 months. Take it baby steps, little bites at a time, per se. I did kind of look up just percentages on Google of New Year's resolutions that are kept, and I found it very interesting. It said only 9% actually achieve their New Year's goals. Now, I would say that there's a lot of different metrics involved with that. Well, how do we know? Is that for a 12-month period of time? If somebody sets a New Year's resolution for only the first quarter, is that taking that into account? If somebody says for second quarter of 2026, I am going to have this goal that I'm going to put into place, so it's a deferred resolution that doesn't actually take place for 3 months. There's a little different metrics to look at with that, different caveats that you can kind of go down some rabbit holes with. But it did say about 9% actually achieve it. And the early abandonment percentage was interesting. It said many give up quickly, with 23% quitting in the first week, 64% by the first month, and 80% by mid-February. I personally feel like in society here in America today, that the biggest percentage that we see of an increase of something is going to be around the physical, aspect of exercise, of eating well, things around that. I have noticed an uptick in like Facebook Reels, for example, where you'll start seeing a lot more of, hey, the hidden ingredient that everybody's been missing out on are these garlic tablets or these red beet powder or whatever it might be, where all of a sudden all these companies are going to throw a lot of their marketing budget on the health and wellness to the January 1 deadline with that. Seeing a lot more reels as far as like, hey, men over 50, if you have belly fat, then this is what you have to do, and you'll instantly get rid of it. Give it 6 weeks or whatever. Well, that's great, but they know that the Facebook people are probably a lot of people over 50 looking at it. Let's face it, the younger generation is looking at Instagram and Snapchat and things like that. So they know their target audience. They know who they are trying to reach out to. And what I would say is that there is nothing wrong with the New Year's resolution. I think that we have really been programmed to think of the failure rate of that. And therefore, it's not really something that we put much effort into. Like, for example, last week I sat down. I'm, a licensed financial advisor by trade in the compliance field, currently not practicing. And, I always look at my own finances. If you don't have the ability to do that, then by all means, get with a financial advisor or somebody that you can work with. But what I do is I look at mine to be able to see, okay, can I go ahead and cut anything out for the next year as far as expenses? Do I have too many streaming services? And the answer to that is probably yes for all of us. My gosh, I think I have Hulu and Disney, which I think are one and the same now since Disney bought Hulu, Netflix, Paramount Plus, Amazon Prime. You name it, and it's out there. So, looking at your finances is always a good, advantageous thing. Is there something I could cut out with that I could not just go and spend more eating out, but maybe I can increase my retirement, for example? So, not talking about finances on this pod call at all. I'm just saying that's an area that I tend to, constantly evaluate and look at just because it's my field. But I would say that, for example, eating healthy, mental, acuity, spiritual brightness, whatever you want to put on there. For me, those are the three areas: the mental, the spiritual, and the physical that I tend to really try to focus on. I do think that, having written goals are good. I don't tend to do that as much as I probably should. But I'd also say just be careful with the timelines on things. Like I said, take baby steps, make goals, set a parameter on there. And like I said, it could be a goal of abstaining from something, such as I'm going to, delete this social media app on my phone and my tablet or whatever, and I'm going to take a 30-day fast from that. If you do that, like resetting the first of the year, then if you take a 30 days versus a whole year, then you're probably going to be successful with that. And you're probably going to reap the benefits of that. We do tend to heap judgment on our own selves a lot of times if we kind of think that we're a failure at something. So if you say, I'm just going to delete social media and I'm not going to use it indefinitely, well, chances are you're probably going to be bored in the evening and you're probably going to gravitate back towards that, especially I find in the wintertime, a lot of times when I can't be outside cutting grass and weed eating and different things. So I do think that there is probably a time and a place for that. I just think that with everything, moderation is a good thing. So, getting back to resolution, I looked up the Oxford Dictionary definition of resolution, and there was two different definitions. It said a firm decision to do or not do something, or the quality of being determined or resolute. I'm a big fan of, just like the Resolute Desk in those movies, that were in the White House, just very firm, very, standing, very astute, whatever. So you go back to that first definition of a firm decision to do or not do something. It goes to my original thought of it doesn't have to be something necessarily proactively that you're going to do as much as it can be a proactive inactivity of not doing something. Well, I guess it wouldn't really technically be an inactivity, would it? It would just be an activity of withdrawing and abstaining from something. So I got to thinking about November. Let me get a drink of water first. So in November, there's something that happens, and the thing that happens is everybody gets in holiday mode. So you have Thanksgiving coming up, and then you have Christmas, and then you have New Year's. And with that, we eat fat high off the hog, Christmas cookies, just all kinds of sugar and chocolate and carbs. Very rarely do you see neighbors putting together pouches of celery and carrots and cucumbers and cherry tomatoes to hand out to their neighbors. That would just be a ball humbug moment, wouldn't it? So don't get me wrong. I love my Christmas cookies. My wife makes a whole bunch. I take them around to the neighbors. They always bring me a bunch. Homemade caramels. Oh my gosh. But usually about November, after, right before or after Thanksgiving, I try to set this goal for myself. Well, I'm gonna abstain from sugar and from chocolates and this and that, and it's setting myself up for failure. And I know that, even though I try to be strong, my theory is, well, if I could be strong during this time, then I could be strong anytime. And the truth is, I am setting myself up for failure. I think you could definitely have, intestinal fortitude and strength to abstain from indulging in so much sugar that you're going to put yourself into a sugar coma. But at the same time, um, I have pretty much resolved in myself that I am going to start eating less sugar. And I started that yesterday, January 1. Crazy thing with that, I remember hollering down the hall to my wife, sitting in the living room. She was in the kitchen. I was like, it is insane how much of an addiction sugar has on us as a society. It is in everything from refined sugars to added sugars. If you look in the back of labels, it's not just sugar, it's added sugar that they put in everything. And it is more addictive. Well, I'm not going to put a percentage out there, but it is very, very addictive. I would say it's up there with like nicotine and some of these other things that we have just gotten so addicted to having that sugar that when you stop, you don't realize that you have a draw for it. It's kind of like me. I drink black coffee every day. I went from drinking a pot of black coffee to just one big cup. Maybe it's 16, 12 ounces. I don't know what it is. I think it's 12 ounces. And I have done pretty good at limiting myself to just one cup. There's times I'm like, hey, I'm bored. I want to go back and have another. And yes, I could probably have a decaf or something. But um, I remember I was up at my in-laws last week for Christmas, and I did not have my coffee. They're not big coffee people; they drink tea, and that's fine. And I was going to go down the road and get a Starbucks coffee, and the day got away from us, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm jonesing for my cup of coffee. So that caffeine addiction is very real as well. It's very hard to break cold turkey and just stop type thing. Like I had to wean myself off of a pot of coffee a day to just down to 12 ounces. But I did find recently abstaining from sugar. I guess I just didn't realize how much of a draw that would be. And we still have all kinds of candy, Ghirardelli chocolates and caramels and cookies and everything still left over from the holidays, whether we were making it or people dropped it off to us, or we were just in, the Kroger, aisle and everything was on sale or whatever, and you get tempted to buy stuff. But I have put a line in the sand, and it's not going to be a year-long thing. It's going to be a 30-day thing. And I'll tell you why I'm doing this is because every January, the first week or two of January, I always go to the doctor and I get my annual physical. And I have always been borderline pre-diabetic, like, borderline. Not quite there on the pre-diabetic range, definitely not diabetic, but borderline. And it's like, I don't want to go in and have my blood tested a week after I've just stuffed my face full of the trappings of, the holidays, whether it's caramels or cookies or peanut butter fudge or whatever. Because I was talking to a diabetic and she was telling me it takes about 30 days for a lot of that sugar to get out of your system. I don't know if that's, scientifically proven. I'm just going off of what a friend of mine said that's a diabetic. And I know that she said that she likes to eat cookies and she'll do it before, a month before she goes in to get her blood work drawn. So with that being said, I am setting a goal for myself for 30 days to try to abstain from as much sugar as I can. Here's why I say try to abstain from as much sugar as I can. That sounds like a real failure statement. It sounds like a quitter. It sounds like somebody that, well, just commit to it, Greg. Just don't do it. there's so much stuff that we have out there that it's hard to know if there's really added sugar or sugar in it. Like my wife made some homemade bread last night. I guarantee it's got some sugar in it. Maybe it doesn't. I don't know, but I know that the organic mixed berry Smuckers, no fruit, no added high fructose corn syrup, supposedly healthy jam that I put on top of it does. You can't make, jam, especially, a name brand like Smucker's or something without having sugar in it. It's just what makes it taste good. But I do know that some of the lowest fruits out there that have the lowest sugar in them are anything that ends in berry. I know that because my dad was diabetic. And when I had to go grocery shopping for him, I was always trying to get the raspberries, the blackberries, the blueberries, and the strawberries because those have the lowest sugar. So there are things you can research, things you could do to be proactive. So that's my rant on the sugar. Hopefully, I stay good with that. I'm not doing it necessarily for a weight loss goal, although I've got many pounds on my gut that I could afford to lose. Going to the gym every day, I'm exercising, lifting weights, doing cardio, eating healthy, and that midsection that they always tell you after you turn 50 that is harder to get rid of is absolutely accurate. It is very difficult and hard to get rid of. So that's okay. I'm not going to be bent about my physique and my body shape and style when I know that I'm doing the right things as far as eating healthy and exercising. But I do need to cut out the sugar. So my intent is to go to the doctor in February and get my A1C run and to see if it's an actual logistical reading based off of the fact of me not having all of that holiday sugar in my system. So that brings me to my next point. I Googled what are the most common New Year's resolutions. And it said that the most common New Year's resolutions consistently center around health and wellness. Well, we just talked about that. Exercising more, eating healthier, losing weight, improving mental health and personal finance, saving money, getting out of debt. I would add to that definitely socking away retirement funds. Other popular goals include learning new skills, spending more time with family, improving organization, and reducing bad habits like smoking or excessive social media use. So, abstaining from something we talked about before could be something to the extent of social media use. It could be that maybe you're just making, too many old fashions in the evening and drinking too much bourbon or having too much beer, smoking too much, where if you feel like this is not doing my body any good, I need to cut out this nicotine, drug use, whatever it might be. That might be a crux for you that is holding you back. So any vice is always good to get rid of, and I would say to definitely work on that in your life, whether it's addictions from alcohol, pornography, workaholic. There's a lot of workaholics out there. Avoidance of family time, type thing. So this also said the top resolutions based on recent data for 2026 are exercise, which is around 25%. Be happy, improve mental health around 23%. That shocked me because I would say prior to COVID, that probably would have been down in the 5 to 10% range, in my opinion. I don't know that. I just think that there's been a bigger push for mental health since 2020. And I am so happy about that because I'm a big proponent of mental health and making sure that you're keeping your mental health happy and stable and productive. The other 22% was centered around eating healthier. And then it said save money, more, improve finances, improve physical health, lose weight, learn something new, spend more time with family and friends. Just mentioned that. And then some other ones like get organized, read more, quit smoking, reduce stress, travel more. One on that list for me, well, my wife currently is like organizing our basement. We're going through and purging. Absolutely think that's healthy to do. I'll be 52 years old here in a couple months. And I told my wife, I was like, we're taking stuff to the dump that was my mom and my grandparents' dressers, things like that, that have fallen apart, that were hand me downs to us. So I think that purging and getting organized and not just storing things to store things is healthy. I told my wife the other day, I was like, I think a basement is primarily just a storage unit. So I have to be careful with that. I don't want my basement just to be a storage unit or an attic to be a storage unit, but just to make sure that we are keeping the things that we need. Good rule of thumb on that for the most part is if you haven't used it in the last 12 months, then you probably don't need it. So I think that purging is good, whether it's clothes, whether it's furniture, whether it's your adult children, they have, elementary drawings, things like that. If you want to keep them for posterity's sake, then by all means, but just kind of evaluate what you need, what you don't need. Don't, however, throw something out without your significant other knowing about it, because that would not be a good thing. All right, so I just wanted to drill down a little bit on a Facebook post I put out yesterday. I did not put it as a New Year's resolution post. It could definitely be interpreted that way. It was basically welcome 2026. And I put a AI picture of me running, it looked like a marathon through a 20 welcome 2026 banner. And what I had said was pretty just short and concise, but it kind of sums up for me a lot of my ambitions for New Year's resolutions, what I'm going to be focusing on. May this year be filled with triumphs, and may I have the wisdom to recognize the pitfalls that may lie ahead. May I continue to place service above self, walking alongside others on this journey of life, all while also remaining open to accepting the help I need along the way. May I live a mentally, physically, and spiritually healthy life without becoming consumed by anxieties that can so easily pull me down. And as I acknowledge that many circumstances are beyond my control, may I stay focused on those that are. So that is kind of my mindset going into 2026. I was talking to a dear friend of mine yesterday. He was talking about his refrigerator that went out while they were out of town on vacation, and how all the food is spoiled, and how they bought a new fridge, and how the new fridge was being delivered, but it wouldn't fit through the front door of their house, even with the doors off. And his wife was at the grocery store at the time buying groceries to fill up the new fridge, and how it was like one of those, I call them serenity now moments where you're just like, I can't take anymore. I'm going to wave the white flag. And with that, I would say that pitfalls in life are always going to be there. They're always going to come up. There's always going to be something that tries to ensnare you, tangle you, whatever. There's going to be things that are going to cause your New Year's resolution, for example, to veer off path. It's okay. Just be flexible. Try to eliminate whatever excuses or whatever pitfalls that you can control as much as you can. If you see a speed bump, slow down. If you see a pothole, go around it. But if you can't see those things, then take them as they come. That's what I'm going to try to do. I'm going to try to really focus on my mental, my physical, and my spiritual health in life. What does that look like for me? Well, let me break that down. Mentally, I work from home remotely. So doing virtual meetings all day long is not interaction one on one with people. I absolutely love it when my wife comes home and my daughter comes home, both professional adult workers outside the house. And I enjoy spending time with them in the evenings. But during the daytime, I find that I need social interaction. I'm very much an extrovert, and that's how my personality is fed. So, what I do personally is I schedule coffees a lot of times, a couple times a week, with friends of mine, where I'll just go to a coffee shop. We'll catch up, we'll talk. Sometimes I'll do a lunch through the week as well. What I do every day goes on to the second point of the physically. keeping a physical, healthy life, is I go to Planet Fitness every single day and I work out. I shouldn't say every day. I try to get in 5 days a week. So the reason I do that is more for my mental health than it is necessarily for my physical health. They overlap, and that's okay where you have an overlapping of areas there and goals. So I like to go in. Sometimes I spend 30 minutes, sometimes I spend an hour. I do resistance training as far as weightlifting, and I also do cardio. I love doing the rowing machine for about 10 minutes because it really gets my blood flowing and it really works a lot, almost every part of my body. I hate it afterwards because I'm sweating and my body hurts, and my knees hurt, and everything else, but I keep doing it. I always go up to the people at the front desk. I think they're tired of my dad jokes now, and I keep telling them their machines are broken because they're making me sweat. And then I'll go ahead and do resistance training, whether I'm just, throwing in, biceps and triceps and chest one day or back and shoulders another and legs another day, whatever it might be. I try to keep a mental note. I don't write it down. I just kind of keep it in rotation from the last time I was there. So I will say that I don't like doing the gym during the summer because I absolutely love being outside. I think that there is a huge aspect when I was talking about overlapping between mental and physical. There's a huge aspect of vitamin D that we all need, and we are lacking in that during winter hours. Some people are lacking in that in the summer hours because they just don't like going outside. But I think that there is an aspect of the vitamin D that we get from the sun that is huge in making sure that we are staying mentally healthy as well as physically healthy. So in the summertime, a lot of times what I'll do is I will go to the gym for my resistance and weight training. And then I will do my cardio outside. Before I hurt my hip, which is all better now, I was rucking 3, 4 miles a day with a 55-pound pack on my back. So that was something I love doing outside. I like walking. I like bike riding. I like hiking, things like that. So I usually try to walk with my wife and my daughter and walk the dogs at the end of the day. And that's not as much exercise for me as much as it is catching up on the day and asking how their day was. And I find it a good time just to kind of debrief. It's done wonders for my marriage, and just being able to kind of both of us debrief our day before we get into cooking and sitting down watching TV or doing whatever else we do. Okay, and then the spiritual aspect of the health life. So we talked about mental, we talked about physical, now the spiritual. Definitely not the last. Probably put that in the forefront more than anything. I would say with the spiritual aspect, yes, there's a part of that of going to church, like on Sunday morning, for example. The Bible says, forsake not the gathering together of the saints. So I do feel like there's a very much important aspect of the gathering together for me in a church setting because I am a born again Christian. But I would also say that it's very much a prayer and meditation and Bible reading aspect through the week. I am not the type of person that likes listening to just, preaching messages, pastors, preachers online on podcasts, things like that. I would prefer to just go to the source more than anything. That's me. I know a lot of people that are constantly just listening to messages on podcasts and different websites. Whatever it is for you spiritually, then by all means, put emphasis on that. I fully acknowledge, recognize not everybody is a born again Christian like I am, but I do find that I find that meditation has been almost taken out of Judeo Christianity's verbiage. I find that prayer life has been replaced with that, and it's absolutely true. And it could be a matter of semantics. You could be saying, tomato, tomato, Greg, it's the same thing or not. I just find that meditation, for me, prayer is definitely interactive. It's me praying to God and it's also listening. I feel like meditation is more the listening aspect. I feel like it's just being quiet, be still and know that I am God, King David talks about in Psalms. So for me, that's really the meditation aspect. So every one of you has to find what works best for you. I do feel like there is a healthy aspect to a reset. I find that at the end of the year, I just kind of get drained and things just kind of get muddled and things just kind of get lackadaisical and complacent. And apathy is a horrible thing that sets in. We a lot of times don't even know it or see it until somebody else calls us out about it. And it could be in every area of our life. It could be, apathy and, it's the end of the season. I'll change the motor oil in my lawnmower in the spring. And then springtime comes, you're like, I'll get it in the fall. Whatever. It could just be a real complacent, apathetic thing. And it could take place in any area of our life. So, with that, I would also just kind of add self care. What is self care? I mean, it's such a loaded topic. For me, self care, it's not selfishness. It's taking care of oneself for the betterment of others, I would say, for the betterment of others. For me, I am going to start reading more. I love reading and life gets away from me and I'll be honest with you, I get kind of tired and worn out and I'll sit down and flip through Facebook reels in the evening, which is absolutely doing me no good and it's not challenging my brain or strengthening me. So I recently downloaded a new book by my favorite author of all times, David Baldacci. I love thriller genre of writing. So I'm finishing up one of his old books that I've already read before, and I've got about another 80 or 90 pages left of that. And I'm excited because it gives me something to look forward to. I always download a new book before I'm done with the other because it helps me speed up my process of finishing the other book. And then it gives me something to look forward to on this new one. So I can't wait for when that happens. I have no idea because I've turned into kind of a slow reader with all of the different things in life, noise and clanging cymbals, two podcasts that I'm running, full-time job and everything else. But with all of that, I need some me time, right? That's what self-care is. It's me time. Don't ever interpret that as selfish. It is selfish if it is to others' detriment or if it's taking time away from others. But in order for you to be strong for others, whether it's your children, whether it's your spouse, whether it's your significant other, your parents, your grandparents, whatever it might be, take time out for yourself. I have got an ailing geriatric mother that's in a nursing home. And I know that, she is bored there. I also know that I can't be all things to all people all the time and take every single phone call. And that same thing applies to friends and, family members. If you let it, people will suck the bone marrow of your life out of you. And you just have to learn to put guardrails up and parameters. So I am also going to incorporate more reading into my New Year's resolution plan. So just in conclusion, I'm going to tie a bow on this. I feel that um, New Year's resolutions can be interpreted negatively by the receiver or the giver. I think it's something that you don't have to share with everybody, but I do think that there is some weight in making it public with somebody, whether it's somebody that is close to you, a friend. If you want to put it out there on social media, fine. But I would say set a goal for yourself, something you plan on doing different, and have somebody kind of hold you accountable to it. And just kind of mention it to somebody so it's verbalized. Otherwise, it might not be something that you feel a great strength in following through with. Secondly, just know that it doesn't have to be a 12-month thing. It could be a month thing, it could be a week thing, it could be a quarter thing, it could be a 6-month thing, whatever it might be. And then be specific with it. Don't make it something like, I am going to get in the gym this year. Well, that's great. How many days a week do you plan on going to the gym? What do you plan on doing when you go to the gym? Are you just going to go to the suntan bed when you're at the gym, or are you actually going to exercise? So be specific, with what you plan on doing. Don't say that I'm going to lose weight. Well, that's cool. That's awesome. How are you going to lose weight? Is that going to come from going to the gym? Is it going to come from eating healthier? I've known tons of people have gone to the gym, haven't lost a pound. I know tons of people that have started eating healthier that have lost all kinds of weight and don't even go to the gym or exercise. So I think just do what works for you, but don't have the emphasis on the wrong syllable. Make sure your emphasis is on the right syllable and make it specific and measurable, something that you can kind of track. Otherwise, you will set yourself up for failure. In business, I learned SMART commitments a long time ago. SMART being the acronym SMART, specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time manageable. So make sure that you are making SMART commitments for anything that you're doing. And by all means, focus on all three of those areas. And I probably left something out, but the mental, the physical, and the spiritual, it's just a well-rounded approach because you can't just focus on one without the other two, and vice versa. So that is my takeaway and my thoughts, and I appreciate you listening. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to listen to Ponderings and Musings of an Ordinary Man. I hope today's episode brought you a bit of inspiration. If you've enjoyed it, please remember to follow, like, or subscribe on your favorite platform so you never miss what's coming next. I can't wait to share future episodes with you. Until next time.